How does Corey make $60,000 a month with their epoxy flooring business when the average floor installer makes only $36,000 a year?
Marketing is the gasoline to the business engine. I'm literally taking $1,800 of my own money per month to go out and make $60,000. Most people build their business backwards, which is really crazy. So if you want to make money, you got to be strategic. That saves me thousands of hours of future time.
I like this. Smart systems is the key to Corey Edmonds' success. Not only has that helped him grow his revenue for his concrete coating business, but it's how he runs 2 profitable businesses. Would you guys like to replicate that success for yourself? Well, keep watching for more of his insights. Corey, it's good to be back with you, man.
How you doing?
Good. Let's dive into your concrete coating business. Tell us and our audience what made you get into this business and what that looked like. I mean, what was your experience before?
Yeah, absolutely. So I got into the concrete coating business about a year ago, and I wanted to add on an extra service. So this was an easy kind of pivot, dealing with the same type of customers. I could easily target some of my customers from my last episode, the pressure washing company.
Right, Pro Wash, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So it's kind of an easy pivot. I had guys here that could, handle the services, and I went out to Dayton, Ohio, got trained up on it, and off we went.
I'm excited to share with our audience how you started Pro Wash, scaled that successfully, and now you have started the second company. You're doing so great. I mean, an average floor installer makes like 36 grand a year, and you're doing 60K a month.
$60,000 to $80,000 months. We've had $200,000 or $300,000 months in the first 365 days. So
that's incredible, Corey.
Yeah, I'll teach you kind of the things that help me scale that here in the video.
Okay. Right. If you guys are interested in their numbers, we're going to talk about more of their profit margins and how they operate and save costs. So keep watching if you want to implement that in your business.
Yes.
All right. Well, let's head down to the shop. I want to talk about equipment.
Let's do it.
So between Pro Wash and Northwest Concrete Coatings, are there equipment that you could use for both businesses, Corey?
No, can't use any equipment from Pro Wash. Had to buy all new equipment. Couple trucks, couple trailers.
Wow.
But I have a couple pieces of equipment here.
Okay. And this thing looks sick. What is this thing?
This here is a propane grinder. This is what we use to create a surface profile on the concrete. It's CSP is what it's called, concrete surface profile. You have to have the correct profile for the coating to stick and adhere and last for a long time. These floors that we're putting out are typically 20 to 30 year floors. So if a customer's paying $7 grand for a floor, they expect it to last a while. So it's not something you want to do every single year.
Fair expectation.
Yep, exactly.
What does this thing cost, and where can I get the best deal on it?
We ordered some electric grinders that are robotic. They're self-propelled. They drive themselves on a trailer. This thing right here is about 12 to 13, 1,400 pounds. So pushing this up and down a trailer every single day is a nightmare. So I got robotic grinders that just drive themselves up the trailer ramp. So we use a lot of those. Cost-wise on this thing, this is about $33,000.
Sheesh, wow.
There's a nationwide company, John Don, so that's usually who I go through. I found a rep there. His name's Tyson. He's an amazing guy.
What's up, Tyson?
Tyson, yeah, he's awesome. So Tyson's really helped me out a ton as far as getting me into the right equipment, getting me the right coatings, answering my phone calls whenever we have a problem. All my guys have his number, so he's super responsive. Really helped me out big time.
So you went out of state to get training to start Northwest Coating. Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, I had a friend that was in the industry, Dayton, Ohio, Lee Baker. Your One Day Floors was his company. So he's got, I think 7 trucks that run every day. He offers training, so anybody can go out there and get training with him. That was really cool. We worked for 3 days. It looks like easy money. That's what I got interested in. I was like, oh man, he's making $7,000 a month. But then I realized, there's a lot of hard work. So that was one thing that was real shocker when I had to get down on my knees and hand grind and push a 1,300 pound grinder around up and down the trailer.
Humbling experience. And you paid $1,500 for the training, right?
$1,500.
Is that what he charges, or is that a friend deal?
No, he charges a lot more. I don't know what it is now. I'd say it's a couple $1,000s, but he's, it's in class. It's very structured, and you get to look at his shop and take a look at his organization, and he's just a valuable resource to have.
As a new business, how do we get our first customer and build brand awareness? Give us what you've learned so far.
Well, you got to have marketing. Marketing is the gasoline to the business engine.
Specifically, what are we talking? Flyers, business cards? I mean, what's most effective initially in the game?
So you have to determine that, whatever you're jumping into. For coatings, most people don't know what to Google it. So Google Ads, like, it doesn't work well. We do disruptive marketing on Facebook. So tons and tons of money goes into Facebook ads.
What do you mean by disruptive?
Disruptive,
Like you're just...
Facebook is people are looking at kids, kittens, puppies, friends. They're not looking to buy anything. So you actually have to throw an ad out there. They see the floor and they're like, oh my God, that's something that like I really wanted. I just never knew who to call. And boom, they fill out a form and we get tons of leads through there. When it comes to Google Ads, it doesn't really work well. People are typically thinking Home Depot floor paint. I'm gonna go there and get the floor paint, and that wastes your money when it comes to Google Ads. So for the coating industry, Facebook ads is the way to go.
What was the cost to start up Northwest Concrete Coatings? Because it sounds like it's a hike.
I want to think about it. So
give us a rough number.
About $60,000 is what I put into it.
So day one, starting concrete, $60K.
Yeah. So here's how I started. So you got to be strategic, right?
Okay.
We're not playing checkers. We're playing chess here. So if you want to make money,
like
you got to be strategic. So here's what I did. I taught my sales guy what we were selling. He went out and sold the jobs. So he actually collected about $20,000 to $30,000 in 50% deposits.
Oh, wow.
We used that as part of the stuff to buy the grinder.
You never done the work yet.
We've never done the
You're
work.
going out to sell it.
Didn't have a grinder, didn't have product.
I love the confidence.
I didn't have vacuums. We didn't have anything. We were just literally selling jobs, getting 50% deposits. We still get 50% deposits because there's flake and inventory and stuff that needs to be purchased. So if you're strategic about stuff, then you can kind of get in there. But it feels risky. But for me, it was a calculated risk that I was willing to take.
All right, so we're heading to an actual job site, right? Give me a quick understanding of what the job is, what the cost is, and so forth. Just interested to know that.
So the job is, I believe it's $5,600. It's only 400 square feet. There's 2 separate garages on this one, and it has moisture problems. So turned it into a 2-day process because they had to lay the moisture vapor barrier.
Why do you think you're the biggest in the area in terms of what you do? I mean, what's the key to that success? Is it just a lucky coincidence, or did you take some ongoing steps to make that a reality?
A little bit of both. There's really not any competition here. And I firmly believe that you really shouldn't focus on your competition. You need to really focus on your customer and the experience / entertainment that you give that customer, because they'll be coming through in droves. Even if you have a callback or don't do something right, depending on how fast you solve that problem, no matter what the cost, they'll refer their friends and family because they feel safe. They trust you. You have to be trusted. As far as being the biggest in this area,
it's just the lack of competition, basically.
There's a lack of competition here.
That's not a bad thing to have.
Yeah, it's not too bad. Just geographically where we are located, we're blocked north by the Canadian border. We're blocked east by the mountains, and we're blocked, west by the ocean. And then, we're 2.5 hours north of Seattle, so there's really nothing in between here. So as far as growth is, I feel a little bit stunted just because of that. We can't naturally grow out. So that was initially why I, started the concrete coating company, because I realized we were going to kind of hit a peak with Pro Wash at a certain point. Here we are. We made it. Let's go check it out. We raised in a barn.
Oh. I was going to close it. I know you told me about the job and what it entails in the car, but as far as the process itself, can you just quickly walk through the process of doing what you guys do?
Yeah, totally. So typically, like I say, we got to grind the floor. We got to create that surface profile so that the coating will stick to it. This one had a moisture problem, so we need to lay the moisture vapor barrier. That's what's laid there. That cured overnight. They sanded it down this morning so that the coating will stick to the moisture vapor barrier. So they've scuffed it up, and then we'll apply the coating over top of it. That's going to keep any moisture from coming up through and potentially popping that coating, and then she should get 20 to 30 years out of this floor.
And what do they do now?
So they're mixing base coat right now.
That stuff's pretty potent, isn't it?
It is.
Hence the masks and
everything. They're wearing respirators. They're wearing gloves. It does have a little bit of a smell. It'll die down after it cures in 2 days. We do focus heavily on safety, so we make sure we have knee pads. We make sure our cartridges are changed out. Even their cartridges have dust filters so that they can wear them when they are grinding.
Right. And what they're doing now is basically prepping it to put the flakes on, right? Yeah. I see the flakes are there. How long of a process between what they're doing now and then the flakes are going to be sprinkled on? Is it right away as soon as they coat it?
So essentially what he's going to do is going to pour what we call a ribbon out on the floor. It's just a line, and then he's going to squeegee it across, and then somebody else is going to roll it flat, make sure it's even, and then they're going to throw the flakes into it. So
I'd love to try that.
Yeah, absolutely. You can throw some flakes. There's actually a little trick to it. You got to get it up.
Really?
You want the flake to actually flutter out. You don't want it to come down in clumps. Make sure you do it right.
If I do it right, I'm hired. If I do it wrong, I'm fired.
Exactly. We got to wear these special shoes in the coating.
So cool.
So these are pretty cool. They're spiked, and it keeps us from, leaving a footprint on the coating.
Yep.
Those are pretty cool.
When it comes to buying stuff, Corey, cash or financed, and why not?
I finance it. So I like to keep my cash in the bank. When you figure out how to leverage money, you can utilize other people's money to help yourself grow. If you only have a certain amount of cash, then you can only go so far with that cash.
Absolutely.
I like to save the cash for marketing. So there's a lot of marketing spend to sell these floors. So I prefer to keep that cash on the side and finance the equipment. This is what, $33,000?
Yeah.
So this is like, I don't know, $400, $500, $600 a month, somewhere in there.
No down payments?
No down payments.
All financed.
That's another key too, is finding a good banker that you have a relationship with. Some of my biggest advice is your best friend needs to be a marketing guy, your other best friend needs to be your insurance guy, and your other best friend needs to be your banker. So I have a really good relationship with my banker. I got set up, he got me my first grinder. And essentially, I call him when I need something, and boom, 5 minutes, he's like, go buy it.
But is it a business loan? Is it a personal line of credit?
It's a business loan.
What type of financing is it?
Yeah, it's a business loan.
I see.
It's through US Bank.
Under the company?
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yep. So essentially, the way I think about it is we have a truck, a trailer, a grinder, some vacuums. I'll buy the knick-knack stuff. That probably between insurance and payments, it may be $2,000 a month. But the truck,
not bad.
one truck can go out and do $60,000 a month.
Yeah.
So I'm literally taking $1,800 of my own money per month to go out and make $60,000. It's a no-brainer for me.
That is a no-brainer.
No-brainer.
Did you catch that? Spending $1,800 a month on equipment to generate $60,000 of revenue. Do you want a no-brainer deal for yourself? Meet National Business Capital, the leading option to help your small business grow fast. National Business Capital helps you find the best financing options for you and your business with over 75 lending partners in the marketplace, securing your loan ranging from $25,000 all the way up to $10 million. With an easy and swift application process, you can have financing available within just 24 hours. National Business Capital has you covered. With over $2 billion in financing secured over the last 14 years, countless outstanding reviews, and a legacy of experienced advisors that listen to you and your specific needs. Choosing National Business Capital for your small business is, well, it's a no-brainer. So click the link in the description below to get more details and submit your application so that you can smartly finance the equipment you need. So we all know that as a new business, customer referrals is huge, right? You do a good job here, people talk about you.
Referrals is huge.
Yeah, what can you highlight with the concrete coating business for yourself? Let's talk about that a little bit.
Coatings is big referrals. It's a wow product. It's like your neighbor walks into your garage, they see the floor, they're like, oh my goodness, who do I call for that? Another thing that we kind of implemented is we have a follow-up sequence, which is pretty vast.
Tell us about that.
It's a rabbit hole. But essentially it's a text, an email, voicemail bombs, videos. It all goes out to the customers every step of the way. We have what's called a pipeline, and that pipeline has the stages that the customer would be in. And these are messages that go to them at the various stages. And we want to keep them entertained. Having a good customer experience is so vastly important in anything you do. People spend their last dollar on entertainment. Netflix, baseball games, whatever.
That's true. So
their last dollar. So you have to entertain them. People will spend money over and over with you if you have a crappy product, as long as you have a good experience.
How do you entertain them?
If you keep them entertained. We're sending them checklists so that they can prepare for the job before we even get there. We send them, videos of how it's done, more information. We send them reviews on the backside, send them a bio about the technicians that are coming out to do their job. When you start focusing on your customer and less on your competition, that's when you really start to just build a business.
Beautiful. Concrete coating, you said there's a bunch of things in terms of material you use. You went with the flakes. Why is that? Can you highlight that real briefly?
Yeah, flake coating, it's a one-day floor. So it can be installed in one day. It's a really hard day, but it essentially can be done in one day. Our typical average ticket price is between $4,000 and $5,000.
Wow.
So
how many square feet would that cover approximately?
Anywhere from, I would say, 400 to 1,000 square feet. 1,000 square
garage.
feet would, probably be in the $7,000 range, I'd say.
Wow.
So that can all be done in one day, essentially. Product costs, pretty high. You got diamonds on your grinders; those are pretty expensive.
Right.
You got a lot of mixing cups and rollers and chip brushes and all types of stuff that you throw away at every single job. So there is quite a bit of cost involved with it. Essentially, it's easy to do. You can make some money, and then if you want to jump into like concrete polishing or doing some other style coating or anything like that, this is an easy way to kind of get into the industry.
What other equipment do you want to highlight for the coating business? So you got this little thing here, this little thing here.
Some of the main pieces of equipment that you'll need for concrete coatings, obviously, is a grinder and a vacuum. So this concrete dust is extremely, can cause cancer over time. So breathing it in, the grinders always have to be connected to vacuums. There's also hand grinders that we use. Essentially, we hand grind the edges of the floors with a hand grinder.
So this is the bad boy hand grinder, man. That thing is heavy.
It is, yeah.
And you work with this how many hours a day, would you say, or your guys do?
You just pop down on your knees with some knee pads and grind the edges of the floor. A typical 400 square foot garage, you can hand grind it out in 30 minutes.
So what does this thing cost? Makitas are pretty good brand.
This thing's pretty cheap.
A few $100.
Yeah, a couple $100. With the diamonds and the shroud, you're looking at probably $500 right there.
And how often do you go through the
diamonds?
Yeah.
It really depends. There's different diamonds for different style floors. You have what they call soft bond diamonds and hard bond diamonds. As you can see, the diamonds are the shiny part.
Right.
And what holds the diamond in is called the bond. A hard concrete floor needs a soft bond diamond. What that does is wears that bond down, exposes the diamonds faster, and it cuts quicker. If you use the wrong diamond on the wrong floor, it could take forever, or it could absolutely just tear through the floor.
In terms of resources, besides the 3-day training, what can you suggest to our viewers to get better at this technique, that technique? Is it just purely hands-on and do it over and over, or is there something else, Coach?
Yeah, there's a lot to learn when it comes to concrete.
I bet.
There's so much to learn. There's Facebook groups, so you can join Facebook groups. There's like one out there that's got like 20,000 people on it. So you can hop in there. They're always doing courses. They're always doing trainings. So you can immerse yourself into a network of people that have been doing it for years. And that's kind of what I've done. And you can post your questions and they'll most likely get answered. There's a lot of distributors there that can help you. There's sales reps, etc. That would be the first thing that I would do.
Yep.
Jump on Facebook, find a coding group or whatever, jump in there, see what you can find, and that will lead you somewhere else. I guarantee it'll lead you right down the right road.
People love hearing exact numbers. I read all the comments and people are like, hey, why don't you dive into more exact, profit margins?
Totally.
Not the BS revenue, because there's expenses, obviously.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, if I were to start a coating business and run it like you are today, what can I expect for profit margins? 10%, 50, 60, where are we at?
It depends on your level. As an owner-operator, you can make a lot of money. Do you want employees? Do you want to work by yourself? If you're working by yourself, obviously you're going to save a lot of money, and you could probably pull like a 50% margin if you're working by yourself.
Not bad.
But then again, you're killing yourself every single day.
Right.
If you get injured, you can't work, and it's a rough and tough business. That's not something I was interested in doing. I want to scale up. So there's more costs involved with that. You got middle management that doesn't produce any revenue. When it boils down, my profit margin is on a good month could be, probably 20%, 17 to 20%.
But you're not working,
I'm not
80
working.
hours a week.
We've had months where we've had a net profit of $60,000 in 1 month.
Wow. It's
so
incredible.
The potential is there. The potential is there. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How important is systematizing a business? What can that do to a business?
Yeah.
Because you've done that really well.
Yeah, fairly well. I was still learning, learning every day.
Never stop.
Systemizing is like extremely important. I have an org chart right here. Essentially, when you start out, this is you, and you're doing sales, you're doing office, you're doing the crew's work, you're doing the marketing. So it's very tough starting off. Most people don't understand that they're going to be taking on all of this, and they start to feel really trapped. So essentially what I do is I figure out what I'm good at, and I do what I'm good at.
Absolutely.
And I sub out what I'm not good at. So in my situation, I kind of hate sales. So I hired Cole back in 2020. He's been amazing. He's helped us expand the companies.
We'll talk to him just a little bit later, yeah.
Yep.
So he was your first hire?
He was not my first hire, but he was a crucial hire. And so essentially what you want to do is every time figure out what you don't want to do and train it and video it and then write a manual for it. So how to do it, what to look for, etc. I even so there's a manual in every single truck. It's a binder. There's one for our technicians. There's one for our office, our sales guys, everybody. And in there are even QR codes to like how to troubleshoot the grinder. Oh, wow. What bits do I need?
And who worked on that, Corey?
I did.
You did? Wow.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, these manuals and
it is
instruction
It is,
sheets
but if you want to free yourself from the business, because as you start out, most people build business backwards. They hire the crew, they buy the nice shiny truck. They're not even thinking of marketing. So now they've just incurred a ton of expenses. They don't have any jobs on the schedule. So it's just very important to systemize some of this stuff, and you build it every time you back out. I firmly believe in like doing things one time. There's no need to repeat the same things over and over.
With the right planning.
There's no need to train these crews over and over again, because you can video it, you can put it in a Google form, and they come up here on the TV and watch it. So, and then they take a test. So that's how I have all my training. For every one of these positions, there is a Google form with videos and testing that follows up behind it on every single position. So every time I backed out of one of these positions, filmed it, manual, video, test.
Boom, you're done.
Yep, done.
Okay. All right, Blitz time with Corey, and this is our fans. Thank you, everybody who submitted questions. We're going to try to ask as much as possible. So Rebecca's asking you, Corey, what type of equipment did you start with, and were you a solo entrepreneur at first, or did you have a crew? Now we're referring to the concrete business.
Started off with crappy equipment, a grinder that was running on one cylinder, and
how many cylinders do they usually come with?
2. So it was a crappy grinder.
Okay.
Got shafted, but as far as crews, solo entrepreneur, I already had a business.
Right.
So I had a plan, I had an idea. I kind of had the guys. I hired a few more guys. But yeah, I had a plan. I already started another company.
Cool. Short answers are good. Xavier's asking, what kind of training and or education did you have in floor coating prior to starting the business?
Yeah, 3 days worth of training. I had no prior knowledge, experience, or anything like that. Just a lot of self-taught YouTube, Facebook networking groups.
That's what it takes. Thank you, Xavier, for the question. Araya is asking, how did you find trustworthy and reliable employees?
You have to be very selective. You can't just hire everyone. I have a specific hiring process that I use. I stick to it like crazy.
We'll share that later. I think that'll be a valuable thing. Okay. I'm Bill Gates is the user, is asking, what kind of exit strategy are you looking at?
You know, we're on track for like $2 million this year. I'd like to get it to cruising out to like $5 million, 20% net profit. We'd be making $1 million a year.
Not bad.
You can probably sell that for 6 to 10 multiple somewhere and cash out for a big $6 million check.
Not bad. And then Scotty's asking if there's a work-life balance. Do you have a work-life balance? Or are you?
Yeah, that's tough. That's a really good question. Another rabbit hole. You know, I've been able to vacation for, a month or two, out of this year.
Not bad.
So that's really cool.
It's only October.
Sometimes things get tough, or you have a manager that moves on or whatever, and that all falls in your lap. And then there's no work-life balance. So you're rehiring for that position. You're kind of jockeying, getting the company back under control. So work-life balance for me, really, I work 50, 60 hours a week, and I don't mind it. I love it. I love having super high energy. It does. I don't care.
Okay. So how much would an installer make approximately? Give me a range, and what makes the difference? Is it percentage? Is it hourly?
It's percentage.
So strictly percentage?
Yeah, I do percentage pay, so motivates them to, kind of get the job done and not really milk the clock. They also have the advantage of working less and making more per hour.
Right.
So that's where it really kicks in, is they start to realize that They don't have to work a 40-hour week to get their paycheck.
How many days do they work in a week?
We typically try to keep these guys at 3 days a week so that they're not getting burned out. As you can see, it's really hard work. It's hard for me to even watch them without me wanting to help them. Like I literally am that type of person. I want to jump in here and help these guys out. So I don't want this video to be like misconstrued at all. Like these guys are my slave workers. That's not it at all. These guys are amazing. So. You know, I want to help them however I can. Sometimes, you know, with performance pay, you'll have jobs that go sideways. You'll have a job that maybe doesn't, you know, pay out a ton or something like that. You got weak lungs, Paul.
No, I just prefer not to breathe. I just prefer not to breathe anything that doesn't belong inside. What about bonuses? Does that happen? Or?
Yeah, so again, performance pay, it's percentage. And, you know, when it comes to bonuses, I usually give them $20 for each Google review. So if they got a Google review from her today, then $20 to every single person that was on the job.
Okay.
So it could be anywhere from, you know, I'd say, you know, 200 to, you know, I don't know, 300, 400 a day. So for work.
So what are you doing now, Corey?
So we're just rolling it flat. Oh, that feels nice.
Oh, there you go.
That is really nice. M's and W's is what we call it. So we're doing M's and W's. Justin's putting his shoes on. He's gonna go out there and kind of roll it the other way. We'll cross hatch it. So he'll kind of roll it up and down, north and south, and then east and west.
If you guys are wondering why I'm not in there, that's because Corey's gotten used to this chemical compound. You probably have concrete coating inside your lungs.
I do. So I just grab less in my hand.
Yeah.
There you go. If you got to do a little tiny corner, you just grab less in your hand and throw it up.
I like this. Oh, see, I clumped it up again. I see. So the higher you throw, the less
spreads out. You get a better even coverage.
What are your ongoing monthly expenses for the concrete coating business?
That's a good question. So typically it's right around like $15,000 to $18,000. So that includes, you know, we share this with Pro Wash. So half the bills are split in half. So that's part of the rent, that's part of the softwares, that's part of the administrative fees, that's all your finance payments, and that's before marketing.
So if it wasn't split between Pro Wash, somebody watching this and doesn't have the same setup as you, probably be double that then, or at the level that you're at?
You could operate out of your home. I did for years. You could operate out of a storage unit. I operated out of a storage unit. We did $700,000 a year out of a storage unit.
That's crazy.
With what, 3-4 trucks running, you know, guys just showing up. But there's many ways. Again, you're playing chess, not checkers. Be strategic about it. So if you can save money in the beginning, then great. What I would do is keep cash reserves. Keep your cash. You spend your cash on your marketing. You have to be marketing, and you should finance your equipment. One thing to think about too is most people build their business backwards, which is really crazy. So they go out, they spend all their cash on shiny trucks, shiny equipment. Then what they realize is nobody's calling my phone.
Right.
Like then they're like, oh shoot, nobody's calling my phone. I have no work. I just bought all this truck and trailer. I have no cash in the bank. So essentially what you need to do is you need to finance the stuff, and you spend your money on marketing. So if I was to do it all over again, calculated, the first person that I would hire would be a sales guy. So I would hire my sales guy first. I would spend money on marketing. I wouldn't even buy the equipment. Like I told you before, I didn't even buy the equipment. We went and sold jobs first. I would literally dial in marketing right off the bat, put some cash into that, get some leads flowing in, get your sales process down, have a salesman, you know, doing the sales. Yeah, it's a little bit stressful, but
hey, you got to make it happen.
Got to make it happen.
You mentioned you have not a strict, but a specific hiring criteria.
Yeah.
What is it?
I have a specific process that I use to hire. So typically, you know, Indeed in my area works really, really well. And then we have what I call a funnel. So you get 100 people come in and it pumps out, you know, a couple golden nuggets down at the bottom. So we do that with assessments. We use an assessment that goes out before we even talk to them. It assesses their personal, you know, who they are as a person. And it shows us on a scale, are they a good fit for each position in the company? And then after that, we'll give them a phone interview. And there's specific questions like, you know, can you drive a truck and a trailer? Are you cool with driving 2 hours a day, you know, back and forth to a job site? Just job-specific questions that I would call like the cons of the job, because I want to get those out up front. Then we'll bring them in. If they pass that, we'll bring them in for an in-person interview. Once they pass the interview process, then we'll bring them in, train them, go through testing, and just kind of keep up with them through training, make sure they're catching up. We'll get feedback from the team as well, and kind of go from there.
Rock and roll from there.
That whole process is actually 100% automated through Go High Level. So essentially what we do when it comes to our kind of like the whole hiring process, same thing that we do for our customers. There's actually a text message and an email that goes out to every single person that we potentially want to hire. So the first one's the assessment goes out. When they do that, we'll send them a text for the next step. And then when we do finally bring them in for an interview, a manager will do the interview. We'll discuss it as a team, and then we just move them over into the stage, and it fires off all their onboarding documents through DocuSign.
Yeah,
and they can fill it out on the phone. That way, the first day when they come in, they're instantly going into video training.
Man,
so
smooth.
The video training is I use Google Form links. So those are in there. It automatically sends them those text messages. So it's like, how can I save myself time? That saves me thousands of hours of future time. I'm always constantly looking through my business. How can I save myself hundreds of hours of my time in the future?
And you save your time by systematizing everything.
Systematizing and automating everything that you possibly can.
If you guys are ready to develop your own business mindset with your own business, you guys head over right now to the UpFlip podcast and listen to all the other entrepreneurs that we've interviewed and how they operate their business and how they achieve their success. So check it out, upflip.com/podcast. What is your typical monthly ad spend, and how is that allocated across different platforms? And what are the best ROIs?
Yeah. So typically we do run Google Ads. So Google Ads, we'll spend anywhere from $3,000 to $5,000 a month. That's between management and ad spend. Like I say, it doesn't really perform that well. I hate to be like too heavy in one region. I want to have like diversity when it comes to marketing. If you watch Shark Tank enough, you'll know that they don't like when people are heavy marketing in one thing. So try to diversify a little bit. The leads from Google are higher quality. When it comes to Facebook ads, we'll spend anywhere from probably $6,000 to $12,000 a month. So I'll spend it heavier when people are actually buying. So
when is that?
Typically March through, it dies off in November. Your cost per lead, because people aren't clicking in the slow months, is actually driving your cost per lead up. It's actually wasting your money. So essentially what you want to do is what I've done to kind of figure out marketing and when to turn it on, turn it off, because you can spend a lot of money in marketing and that could be your profit. So what you need to do is track your estimates, put them on a little line graph each month. If you got 10 this month, you got 20 this month, and track that every single month, and you create a line graph. And that gives you the seasonality of your business. And why I say estimates, they could even be phone calls. Why I say that is because that is when people are actually interested and they're actually buying. So you're figuring out what the market is doing. And that's when you decide to spend the money. And when that line graph starts to skyrocket, that's when you skyrocket your ad spend, and you start spacing your jobs, selling extra jobs, and putting them out further on the schedule. Diving into the 4 pillars of a business, there's 4 pillars that you kind of have to like really master and dive into, and you have to address and learn more about. The first one is marketing. That's the gasoline to the business. The second one is the sales process. Do you have a good sales process? As far as like, what does a customer feel? What's the experience? Entertain them. So you kind of got to dive into that. The second part is the delivery of the product or the fulfillment. That's when the installers go install the coating. And then after that, once you have all those mastered, you can really start to master the management side of the business. And that's when you become more of a person that works on the business and not in the business, getting trapped in the day-to-day. And so those 4 pillars there have helped me kind of get out of the day-to-day, and I can be with you, driving around, horsing around, and having fun, enjoying life.
And still making a living. Cole, good to be with you.
Thank you.
Corey mentioned you a number of times as being in charge of sales for the company, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about you, your role, what you do, and how you scale the company together with Corey and the team.
Thank you. Yeah. So with Northwest Concrete Coatings, my role is I'm the sales manager. Some of my duties consist of helping our other reps or sales reps with their daily task, keeping people motivated. I want to be a good leader for my team, and also answering any questions or concerns people have related to these construction jobs, because it's not always black and white.
So sales is one of the 4 main pillars of any business. It's super crucial.
Definitely.
Talk to us briefly about your sales process and what's been most effective for you, Cole.
Yeah, so my sales process is we're going to have incredibly concise communication to start with. People are scheduled an estimate, and after they're scheduled, it sends a text notification that I'm on my way. I greet a customer. I'm building a lot of value in the fact that this is a luxury service. It's not required to have a coating on your garage floor, and so I'm really hyping it up. I personally love the product, and I try to bring that in to show somebody that as well. And after I've talked to them, the most important thing with selling these floors is that you have to ask for the sale. Most people don't. A lot of companies are sending estimates via email, or they don't even meet in person. They'll ask for the specs of a house. And I've found in my experience that if you don't ask for a sale while you're in person, your closing ratio is going to go down drastically.
Can you give me an example of how you ask for the closing, sale?
Yeah. I'll show them their estimate in their nice folder that we have, and I'm very straightforward with it. I would just say, when would you like to get this scheduled? Something simple as that. And
put them on the spot, basically. I'm here. Here's the number.
We take a 50% deposit. My office will communicate with you to get that, and then when was a good time to have the service scheduled for you.
Let's check out the flakes. Tell me about this and how you order them and what they cost per pound. I mean, this stuff looks kind of fun.
Yeah, so every box here is about, $110, $120. So with shipping.
So a box like this is 120 bucks?
110 bucks.
Oh, it's not that heavy.
They're 40-pound boxes.
Okay.
So.
And how much area would this cover?
Yeah, good question. 250 square feet, and then you'll actually recover some. So technically they go about 300. But, we estimate 250 so that we don't come up short.
How many variations, Cody, do you have?
Yeah, we essentially had to create our own flake blend. So every single blend that you see here, we actually created it with the different shades and everything and named it.
What's the biggest seller here? Just, I would imagine more of a neutral color, right?
Yeah, bigger.
Probably would go with the Soldier if you guys would take a look. It's more of like a really...
That one's hideous.
Hideous, fun...
Hideous.
Unless you want to have a gym in your garage, that's what it makes me think of.
Can you tell out of all these little signs here which ones my employees did?
I would not be able to guess.
The blue tape.
Oh, you're funny.
It's kind of like that drawing where somebody drew a beautiful back end of a horse, and then somebody cheaper came in to finish up the drawing, and the front side of the horse is a stick figure.
Besides connecting with your friend who already operates a successful coating business, is this industry similar to like real estate, right? We pay for coaches and mentors and stuff that help push us forward. Could that be the same thing here? I have a business coach.
You do? So I do pay monthly for a business coach.
In general, though, not specifically for coaching,
in general,
right?
Yeah.
How important is that and vital to the success and scaling of your business?
It's invaluable. When we came down to COVID and we shot the first video, with that coaching program, I tripled the revenue in 2020. The knowledge that was there as far as the PPP loans and grants and all types of stuff that they were like, sign this, fill out this, do this, do that. The money that we got back more than paid for the whole program for that year.
Right, that's awesome. I always tell people that coaching expenses is not an expense, right?
It's not.
It's an investment.
So a friend always told me, what's it going to cost you to not get coaching? It's going to cost you more money. It's going to cost you more time. So don't think about coaching as how much does it cost a month? How much does it cost to not
have one? I love it. What's the last book you read, if any?
Last book I read. So I typically am not reading books, which I should be, but I use Blinkist. It's an app, and it turns the books into 15-minute books. It just gives you the cliff notes. And so I'll listen to those quite often. A really good book that I definitely recommend if you don't even know where to start is the E-Myth.
Yeah.
E-Myth Revisited. That is an amazing book. That will change your life. I've even given it to my employees to read when they start
old school book too, by the way.
Questioning, all the money that I'm making and stuff like this. They think that it's all profit. And I'm like, go read this book. Some of them do, some of them don't. they come back and they are amazing employees after that. Never ask you again.
At this point in time, for both companies, what would one expect to be compensated for your role?
So with sales, you receive commission, same with real estate.
Yeah.
And so you get what you kind of put into it. With the concrete coatings, I receive 8% of the subtotal of a project I sell.
Gotcha.
And so I try to sell as many projects as I can. Of course, it's going to depend on the time of year. If you're somebody in my role selling concrete coatings, in the summer, you're going to have more leads flowing in. But if you're really motivated, you can make phone calls, you can go door knock, you can put out door hangers, signs. And I oftentimes am trying to create relationships with real estate agents, as well as contractors with the concrete floors specifically.
Another book that I really recommend is Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. So I use a bucket method or Profit First method banking. So I have 5 bank accounts. All the deposits go into one account, and then they're split based on percentages where they need to go. We have a payroll account, we have a profit account, we have a sales tax account, we have an overhead account, and then we have just the deposit account. Nothing goes out of the deposit account, no bills. So it all comes in, and then it's dispersed based on a percentage. I built a calculator in Excel, and that actually helps us build money. You know, business owners, they get into this process where they're not making any money. They finish up the end of the year, there's no money left over. They read their profit and loss. Their accountant's like, hey, you profited 60 grand. And the business owner's like, well, where's the money? Because it's not in the account. So using Profit First really helped save my life, actually. I've been able to save a ton of money, and I, definitely recommend Profit First.
By Mike
Michalowicz.
Mike Michalowicz. We'll have to check it out. Well, in conclusion, what would be your number one advice to entrepreneurs watching this episode? What comes to mind? What comes to heart?
A lot, but you can never stop learning. There's going to be a lot of challenges. They're called barriers. They're barriers for a reason. A lot of people won't go over those barriers, but what you need to tell yourself is, why am I going over this barrier? Why do I need to learn this? And think about the reward. If you can relate, why I need to overcome this barrier. Well, if I overcome this barrier, I hire this manager, I'm going to be able to go on vacation for 3 months out of the year. So think of the reward. Every time there's a problem, think about what happens when you solve that problem. And that'll just keep you pushing forward and pushing forward and pushing forward. The more problems you can solve, the more money you'll make.
There you go. Well, that's a wrap. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Paul.
Thanks. Well, that's a wrap with Corey, the owner of Northwest Concrete Coatings. I hope you guys really enjoyed this episode, learned a lot, and you can start on your own today. Thank you so much for watching. Take a second to like, subscribe, and hit that bell so that you don't miss any of our videos. We appreciate you a ton.